had a good day overall. We have some interesting topics today, quite different, and I think slightly deeper also. It's a little bit on the deeper level. Um, so, a topic that I'll be speaking on today is called Bhava, which is like Bhavas in yoga. That's the name of the topic. And basically, we all are aware that yoga is affecting us or benefiting us. It has benefits on us beyond our physical form. So it's not only, benefiting us on a physical level, but also on an emotional level, on a psychological level, on a mental level, and also on a spiritual level. Those are the different ways, in the different ways that yoga is, benefiting us and making a difference in ourselves, in our life. Um, Also, that's what makes yoga different from any other sort of activity because it is affecting us and benefiting us at all these multiple levels. And it depends on the individual how far they want to take the yoga practice. How far beyond just the physical practice do they want to take their yoga journey. So this is a little bit, this today's topic will look into, discussing or just throwing some light on the things that are beyond the physical form, the benefits of yoga beyond the physical form. So basically, bhava. What does bhav mean? Bhav literally translates into your emotions or your feeling or your sentiment or an attitude that you might have in a given time or in a given moment in a situation. Like when we do our yoga practice, we know that yoga is affecting our mind. As I discussed earlier, that will not only beyond our physical form, it is also working on our mind. It is generating certain experiences, certain feelings, emotions. And those are bhav. Those feelings are known as bhavas. And it's a little bit beyond just the feeling of happiness or sad or joy or anger or calm. You know, it is a little bit beyond that. It is more to do with a feeling of self discipline, a feeling of awareness, a feeling of mindfulness, a feeling of letting go, of humility, of a feeling of humbleness, and also a feeling of self confidence, self reliance. So, these are the feelings that I am going to be discussing. These are the bhavas that I'm going to be discussing today in this topic, and how practicing yoga, these bhavas are generated within us and how we can experience them simply by being mindful and aware. Because so far we are, paying attention on our breathing or we are paying attention on getting the posture right, and which are also again important aspects. But there is this one aspect also. This is one such experience which is coming to you, but probably because we are not aware, it is just passing by. So we are not able to experience it and feel it or enjoy it completely. Uh, I'll move on to the first bhava, dharma bhava. Dharma meaning duty, the feeling of duty. And this feeling of duty first towards yourself and then towards others. Because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you have not taken care of yourself, you will not be able to take care of others or the situations around you or the day to day things happening around you. By taking care of yourself, meaning not just, it's like, of course, keeping yourself like healthy, eating well, keeping yourself clean, so on and so forth, interacting, socializing, being happy. Yes. But this part of your duty, this part of taking care of yourself is taking care of your mind, keeping your mind in a very balanced, steady, calm state all the time. Because only if it is in that state will it be able to, you know, t- take any action or do anything or, you know, help others or help yourself or anything what comes from your mind if it's in a balanced state. So the first duty is towards yourself, taking care of your mind, keeping it balanced. And yoga, there are certain practices in yoga which can help us generate this feeling of duty and help us in turn experience this feeling, this wonderful feeling towards yourself. So all sort of asanas, meditative asanas, such as Sukhasana, Padmasana, Vajrasana. There is fifth Pratnasana, where you're standing straight, your feet are free together, you're just joining your hands in the center of your chest, eyes closed, and you're trying to just stay in that posture and feeling grounded and connected to earth. So these sort of meditative postures build or generate this feeling of duty, this feeling of keeping your mind calm and balanced. This feeling is generated while doing these asanas. And also you can experience it while doing these asanas. All we have to do is be aware that there is this aspect also that is coming in our practice. But if we are not aware, then it will just pass by and we will not know that it has, even happened or we even experienced it. Along with asanas, the meditative asanas is pranayama. While doing the pranayama, this feeling of duty towards yourself is generated and can be experienced. So the next time when we do these asanas and the pranayamas, try to experience and feel the sense of dharma bhava, the sense of duty towards yourself, towards keeping your mind balanced, calm, and steady. The next one is jnana bhava. Jnana literally translates into knowledge, jnana. Knowledge of being aware, observing, knowledge through being aware, through observing, experiencing, and understanding before taking any action. Knowledge which is not colored by any sort of feelings or desires or impulses or intuition. No, knowledge that is very sort of practical. What is, it is. What isn't. So you are, keeping your once you're in that balanced state of mind through that sense of dharma, through that feeling of dharma, you are able to do your jnana, get your, feeling of knowledge on the right track. And what helps to generate this feeling of knowledge within us? Oh, sorry, but I'll just move a little bit backward. The two ways that we can gain the knowledge is external and internal. So again, by through external observations and experiences, and through internal observations and experiences, we can gain the knowledge. Certain asanas in yoga help to generate this feeling of knowledge, feeling of gaining knowledge. And those asanas are all the extremities sort of bending asanas, which is Trikonasana, the twisting Vakrasana, Utkatasana, Talasana, Garudasana. So when we're doing these asanas, we have to realize which part we have to observe, we have to be aware, and we have to understand which part of our body is stretching, for instance, what muscle is stretching, which nerve is getting activated, which side is getting compressed, how are you feeling in that particular asana? Which is your, when you're in a trikona asana, is your thigh stretching, thigh muscle stretching? Is your abdomen, is your waist muscle stretching? Once you try and be a bit more aware and mindful, you look into these aspects, you will gain knowledge about yourself, about all the things that are soothing to you, not soothing to you. So this in turn will make you more self-aware. So this jnana bhava brings self-awareness. All this while probably we have not noticed it. Maybe we are just doing our asanas mechanically. If the teacher is saying to put the right hand up and then exhale and bend towards your left, we are just doing that. But we are not really paying attention to our body about how it is reacting, this asana is reacting to our body. How are we feeling in this? And once we are more aware, this will make our asana, it will give a different meaning to your asana, to your yoga practice. It will be a different sort of a practice for you because you are paying attention to yourself and what is feeling good and not good in your body. And therefore, doing it for a longer time gives you that time. It helps you to, process and take in all this information. The next bhava, the next feeling is vairagya. This, sorry, yes. So this vairagya, this bhava means detachment. It means letting go. It's a feeling of humility, of humbleness. So it's letting go of your ego. It's letting go of your anxiety, of your fears, anything that's unwanted. You are just letting that go. And what helps and what generates this feeling within you, what are the asanas, are all the forward bending asanas. So next time when you practice your forward bending asanas, for instance, Yog Mudra, Paschimottanasana, Padhastasana, Shashankasana, when you are bending forward, you are letting go, you're giving into gravity, you're letting gravity do its work, and you do not resist at that time. You will see your body will automatically, very slowly and gently, it won't be a thud, very slowly and gently will just be pulled towards earth. And that will be a wonderful feeling because you're submitting, you're letting go, you're realizing what you can do and what you cannot do, and you're not opposing or resisting anything. I'll just read out a little short from my notes here, a little short note that Vairagya is about subduing your ego and learning humility. It is also about learning to look at things objectively and dispassionately, not permitting personal biases and views to color one's perception. In practical terms, this attitude teaches us to view failures as temporary and unimportant setbacks and to work past them. It is the attitude to accept the things that we cannot change and move past them, looking upon them as learning experiences. So this is that feeling of vairagya, slightly deep. Okay, you would not probably think that with along with all the yoga asana, like all the sort of instructions given to you and your breathing, and keep your knees straight and keep stretch your back forward and keep your arms straight, and with all those instructions, how you have to even feel this sort of bhava. But actually, it all just works in a very harmonious way. They are not different things. They all just work so well together that they help one aspect helps the other aspect to just improve your experience, improve your yoga practice. So try to practice this. It will definitely bring about a very different meaning to your practice. This will be not related to a result. You're not attaching yourself to a result. You are just doing it at that point in time and you're feeling it. You're being aware and you're being very mindful. And that's how you'll be able to experience all these small emotions which are, you know, coming, but probably you have not been aware. So it's just passing by. And all these things will affect your yoga practice, make you feel much better during the yoga practice and also after that in your life. Because all these are such simple life lessons that are getting imbibed in you while doing these asanas. But by not realizing it, it is just not being used to its full potential. And the last bhava is Aishwarya bhava. This feeling of self confidence and self reliance. And of course, all these things, this feeling of self confidence, but in a very humble way, with no pride or ego attached to it. And this sort of a bhava, Aishwarya bhava, is best practiced or best generated or achieved while performing all your backward bending asanas. So, say Bhujanga asana, Dhanurasana, Ushtarasana. All these asanas where you are bending backwards helps in generating this feeling, this bhava aishwarya, this feeling of confidence, this feeling of self-worth, because they are difficult asanas. And with your duty, your dharma of practicing and doing yoga every day, with your knowledge of understanding of how much you are able to bend and how which part of your body is getting, stretched or activated, and with your vairagya, where you're staying humble and detached from results, you are able to gain your aishwarya, your self confidence, and your self reliance. So basically, while practicing all the backward bending asanas, what is happening to you is that it is increasing your willpower, your confidence, and your energy levels. It is a feeling of tremendous joy and positivity is brought about in your practice. And as I mentioned before, if you practice dharma, if you practice meaning when dharma, jnana, vairagya are generated and experienced, Aishwarya is just the outcome of these three feelings because you have, come a long way. So this is the ultimate one. You're feeling absolutely your self-image, your self-worth is at its highest, but in a very humble, in a very non-egoistic, not in a proud way. And to conclude this very sort of little bit of a deep kind of emotional topic, to conclude, I would just like to add that know the importance of your practice, which is your dharma, the feeling of your duty. Stay aware of all aspects of your practice. That is your jnana, your feeling of gaining knowledge. Be humble and detached from result, which is your feeling of vairagya, your feeling of letting go, detachment. And feel happy with what you have achieved, which is your Aishwarya, your feeling of self-confidence and self-worth in all situations. So that was actually a very short and concise topic on this feeling of bhavas while practicing yoga. Thank you very much. Ankur, I guess that's all.
Sakina, one question actually. Can you just not question actually? Can you just repeat, because there's something new I have learned today. Well, I know asanas create different kind of chemicals which create different type of emotions. Can you come again with a short like this? Standing asana create this emotions. Sitting like saying like. Can you just repeat that one?
Yeah. So your dharma bhava, which is your feeling of duty, that is generated through all the meditative postures, which is Sukhasana, Padmasana, Vajrasana, Siddhasana, Siddhasana, and your pranayama. So the meditation part of yoga generates your sense of duty towards yourself because you're keeping your mind balanced, steady, calm. That helps. And then there is jnana bhava. Jnana is the feeling of gaining knowledge through observing and through awareness. And this is generated while doing all the extremity stretching, like all the stretching sort of asanas, say trikonasana, talasana. So, you're feeling like stretch. You are able to be more aware, understand which part of your body is stretching, what is compressing. So, trikonasana, talasana, there's utkatasana, there is garudasana, vakrasana, the twisting one. So, there's compression and there is twist. So, these kind of things will help to generate the feeling of gaining knowledge. Third one is vairagya bhava, feeling of detachment, letting go. So all the forward bending asanas will generate this feeling of letting go, humility, humbleness within me. And so all the forward bending are Yog Mudra, Paschimottanasana, Padhastasana, Shashankasana. And then the last bhava, the last feeling is Aishwarya bhava, which is a feeling of self-confidence and self-worth. So all the backward bending asanas generate this sort of a feeling of confidence and willpower. Bhujangasana, there is Dhanurasana, Ushtarasana, and even like the full wheel pose, like any sort of backward bending asana, bring in a sense of, generate a sense of self-worth, self-confidence.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sakina. That was really wonderful to know because this concept is quite new for all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just came across it while reading something, and I thought it was wonderful to like share, at least to bring this aspect like to everyone, if anyone can practice and change.
That's great. Now let's move on to Ankur sir, who will tell us more about Ashtanga Yoga's different aspects.
Sure.
I'll remove my spotlight. Yeah, I'll just remove.
I'll add in spotlight then.
So you
Yes,
can
sir.
see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, Sakina.
sorry, before you start, can we reverse the screen? Keep the presentation forward, because I don't know that's in my phone or it's happening like this, or I can see Ankur as on a big screen and the presentation on a very small screen.
Is it?
Yeah, you have to share the like
Yeah, I have shared it already.
Yeah, yeah. For us, it's showing like all the videos on the right side, and we can see the screen
Yeah.
properly.
Right.
okay, then it's my phone problem. Then okay.
Yep.
Continue.
I think you need to double click on the presentation and it will enlarge.
Ankur,
Yeah,
do full
yeah,
screen.
Yeah, I'll do
Yes,
that.
yes,
I'll do
done,
that.
done.
Okay,
Thank
okay,
you,
okay,
thank you,
okay,
thank you,
okay.
thank you.
Yes. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks, Sakina. Really interesting topic. And I could recall our teacher, Manmohan Kapoorji, when he used to teach us at that time, he used to mention that forward bending brings humility, but this name of the bhava is Aishwarya Bhava, and where, frankly speaking, is we were not that much conscious and we were aware about it. So thank you, Sakina, for this. Next session is going to be about Ashtanga Yoga and 8 limbs we know already, but today's topic is going to be a little bit in a deeper. We are going to touch upon many aspects of Ashtanga Yogas, some aspects of Yam, some aspects of Niyam, then Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. So today's topic, we will be focusing on Chitta, Vrittis, what are the vikshepas, chitta vikshepas, what are the antarayas in our yoga sadhana, and what are the possible solutions. Today's topic is purely based on Ashtanga Yoga. Whatever I'm going to talk about is already written in 4 padas of Yoga Sutra: Samadhi Pada, Sadhana Pada, Vibhuti Pada, and Kevalya Pada. So quickly, I would like to start with the 2 Yoga Sutras of Rishi Patanjali has given. The first one, the definition of the yoga. Now, yoga is coming from 2 Sanskrit words. One is yuj and another one is a samadhao. So yuj means union and samadhao means concentration. So what Rishi Patanjali has stressed on is the concentration leading to pure awareness. And this which further leads to samadhi and a kevalya state, which is a blissful state of mind. So this is the definition he always talked throughout, and the main what he meant to say in all these yoga sutras is to say is that concentration is a very, very important aspect of our yoga sadhana. Means indirectly, he stressed on meditation, pranayama and meditation. Now, Sutra number 2, which is of the Samadhi Pada, the second sutra, he talks very nicely in a one word. He explains what is yoga all about. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. This means yoga is to stop the mental modifications, mental fluctuations. Now, what is the mental modifications and fluctuations is that whenever we are sitting while closing our eyes, we can see that.
DPS KG1 ಇಲ್ಲಿದ
Hello, I think there is someone speaking. Okay, can you please mute your mic, please? Yes, okay, thank you. So Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, this is probably the most famous sutra of Rishi Patanjali, and what he has said is that yoga is to stop the mental modifications, fluctuations. If we sit in a particular I would say the posture like Padmasana or Siddhasana, any meditative posture, we can see our mind is roaming. For a few seconds, it is at one place and another, then in few seconds, it roams somewhere else. So it is always, there are plenty of thoughts are coming. There is nothing wrong, there is nothing right about it. It's just a process of training our mind. But what he said about by this particular sutra is that yoga only brings or calms down your chitta and vrittis. And today's our topic will be the what is chitta, what is vritti, and basically why is it important to know. So we are going to discuss something slightly in detail on it because this is a very, very essential to understand as we go along with our yoga sadhana. Sutra number 3, which is still related to it, he further explains to it. Say, when you are performing yoga, what happens actually? Tada drashtatu swarupe avasthanam. Tada drashtatuha swarupe avasthanam means when we are doing yoga, at that time only we will be able to understand the true nature of ourselves. So our main goal is to reach towards the samadhi, which is to really understand the true nature of ourselves. These two Yoga Sutra is basically the most important Yoga Sutras. And today we are going to discuss about now first Sutra and further details into it. What is Chitta and Vritti? And how Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha basically helps us to avoid the mental modifications, mental fluctuations. So let us see first, what is Chitta and Vritti? What is that? We might have heard, but what is the meaning as per the Ashtanga Yoga? Chitta means consciousness. In other words, what happens is that our Chitta means it is a memory bank of our sanskaras. Sanskaras generated during the current birth, previous birth, based on our experiences. It is already in our mind. It is with us. And vrittis are the fluctuations of our mind. So now Swami Vivekananda has a very nice analogy has been given by him that if you really want to understand what is the chitta and vritti, so let us consider a lake. The bottom of the lake, which is to be considered as a true self, the real Purusha or the Paramatma. We call it as a whether it is a true self or a Purusha or Paramatma, it is the one and the same thing as per Ashtanga Yoga. And chitta is like a water. Now water can be clean also, water can be muddy also. And the waves which are present on surface of the lake are the vrittis. That means we will not be able to see the bottom, even if either the water is muddy or water is dirty, or we have a lot of waves on the surface of our lake. So the most important thing is to basically when our chitta and ritis get specified, at that time only we will be able to see the bottom of the lake, means true nature of ourself. This is what has been very nicely explained by Swami Vivekananda. Now generally the vrittis in other context is explained is that it is a avarana of ignorance which is in our mind. So this avarana of ignorance once is avoided, then only we will be able to become really introvert and basically understand our true nature. Or Atma ka jo milan, jo union, what we talk about a union of Atma to the Paramatma will only happen once these vrittis and chittas are clear. Good. So now let's go further into it. Now Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha, that particular sutra, what it tells is that Chitta and Vrittis generate sanskaras, deep impressions. And these deep impressions in our mind results in karmas. It affects our karmas. And now again, these karmas generate sanskaras. So someone is, say, for example, thinking negative about us. We will also think negative about her. This is the deep impression. Someone is thinking very negative about us. Then all karmas are always against that particular person, which again generates the deep impressions or sanskaras. So what is going to happen is that we will not getting the read of misery, suffering from this particular world. And as explained by Rishi Patanjali, it leads to basically the misery. Misery means it is a life, death, rebirth, and it goes on basically, one birth after another birth. Now, how will we get this liberation? How will we get this rid of suffering? He has told in one probably sutra is that the Ek Tattva Abhyasa. He has answered this single point concentration. Now, single point concentration, why single point? Why it cannot be 2-point concentration? So what it tells here is that if the mind is divided, then it will not lead to basically the pure state of consciousness. And this has been again, I would say, substantiated by Swami Vivekananda when he said is that the only difference between a successful and a failed person is the concentration. So Rishi Patanjali has given a concept of Ekatattva Abhyasa, single point concentration, which we are going to talk further in a subsequent slides, which we call it as a Pranav meditation as well. So we will talk in detail. This is one of the solution he has given as a Ekatattva Abhyasa. Now, let us talk about first Chitta and Vrittis. Let us go slightly into detail. Now, before we understand really the Chitta, we have to understand three gunas. Now, Vrittis and Chitta can have three type of gunas. The first one is a Sattva guna. Second one is a Rajas guna. Third one is a Tamas guna. Let us talk about Tamas first. Tamas is very bad, dull, negative, very lazy, a karma person, dejected person. That is the Tamas guna. Tamas guna comes from it comes from basically inactivity. There is no activity at all. Rajas guna is basically the agility, dynamism, so much movement that we are not able to focus at one particular point. Very, very dynamic, very, very passionate. And Sattva guna is basically the best, which is what basically we are looking for, which is a good, bright, calm. And basically what happens, either we are suffering from tamas or rajas guna. That's why we have the misery. When we go or when we travel from rajas or tamas guna to sattva guna, basically we are going closer towards the samadhi. Sattva guna will only happen when we really become introvert. We perform dharana, dhyana and samadhi. At that time only sattva guna forms. The first step is a concentration of the mind, which is a dharana. Second one comes the dhyan, and the third one is a blissful state samadhi. So now let us talk about the 5 type of chittas, what he has explained, or Rishi Patanjali has explained in Ashtanga Yoga. One is a kshipta, which is a disturbed. Disturbed because of what? Disturbed because of rajoguna, rajas guna. Anxiety, agility and dynamism basically generates the disturbance. Second one is a mudam, as we discussed, dull, completely negative, akarma person, stupid, moron, lazy person is a second type of chitta. Vikshiptam. Now vikshiptam is somewhat in between rajas and sattva. On certain occasions he is having rajas guna and certain occasions he is a sattva. But still it is distracted. Sometime for few hours or for example, in a 1 year, someone is very, very concentrated performing his yoga sadhana and then again stopping it for 6 months. So this is one of the example of the vikshiptam chitta. Now last two is a ekagram chitta and a niruddham chitta. Now as we talked about that, dhyana, dharana, dhyan and samadhi. When person is performing dharana, he is able to focus at one point. One point concentration is possible for him. The sattva gun develops. What happened? Tamas and rajas guns are suppressed. This chitta is called ekagram, one pointed. And the best which we all would like to achieve is a niruddham chitta, which is mastered. Sattva, tamas and rajas gunas are obstructed by default. This is the state of kevalya, which is our main goal to achieve. Now again I'm repeating here is that how to achieve this state of ekagram or niruddham chitta? Again answer is the ekatattva abhyasa. Single point mind or single point mind brings joy and divided mind brings misery. That's what Rishi Patanjali has explained in Ashtanga Yoga. Now we talked about chitta. Now chitta, why this chitta is like that? Why we have kshipta chitta, vikshipta chitta? Why? This is because of kaleshas. Now there are 5 type of kaleshas he has explained. Kaleshas is like doshas, the problems which have with our nature, our subhavs. Our nature is having these kaleshas. This can be because of many other things, but just to explain to you what are these 5 kaleshas. The mother of all suffering, misery, is the first kalesha is avidya, ignorance. Now ignorance can be of anything. Whatever we believe is that, okay, I know this thing is the right thing. This is again avidya, which may not be right. We are not seeing the right thing, but we believe that what we see is right. It can be also avidya. Asmita, asmita is ego. I am something. Rag is attachment. Today I have, say for example, good physical resources. I have a good car. I want a big car. I want my villa. And what happens is that when these things are not achieved, this results into misery. Dvesha. Dvesha is repulsion, negative feelings about someone. Negative thinkings drains our positive energy out. The 5th one is abhinivesha, fear of death. So these are the 5 kaleshas. Next is basically we'll talk about vrittis. What are the vrittis? We talked about the fluctuations of mind. Generally, there are 2 type of vrittis, kalishta, akalishta. Kalishta is a bad. Vrittis can be good also, vrittis can be bad also. Now 5 type of vrittis, Rishi Patanjali has explained in Yoga Sutra. Pramana is a knowing things correctly. Vipraya is again knowing things incorrectly. Vikalpa is a fantasy, hallucinations. We are just daydreaming. Nidra, deep sleep. Smriti is memories. So these are the 5 vrittis he has explained. Now I will tell you basically this vrittis or a fluctuations or a vortex with no end, which is called vrittis. Now let us slightly understand that say for example, vritti of love or a prema in Sanskrit is at heart. Vritti of fear, bhai, is at stomach. Now vrittis can be positive and negative. When we talk about say love, when we overexpress, it leads to intense possessiveness. So, vrittis can be in short, be of good as well as bad. Now all we know about the chakras. Chakras also have a tamas, rajas guna and sattva guna. Now if we start about the Muladhara and a Swadhisthana chakra, basically what is that Muladhara and Swadhisthana chakra is having tamas guna. Why? If you look at here, the vrittis associated with this is a greatest joy, overjoyous, natural pleasure, delight in controlling passion, inertia, laziness. All these things are associated with this Muladhara chakra. Swadhisthana chakra, pitilessness, no feeling of compassion towards anybody, destructiveness, feeling of destructiveness, delusion, disdain, suspicion, all these things are associated with the Swadhisthana chakra. So if you look at all these 7 chakras, these are the worst feelings are associated with this particular Muladhara and Swadhisthana chakra. That is the reason we always try to activate them to get rid of these vrittis, to get rid of tamas guna associated with that. Manipura chakra, spiritual ignorance, thirst, jealousy, trickery, shame, fear, all these things associated with that. Anahat chakra, lustfulness, fraudulence, indecision. Vishuddhi chakra, communication, calmness, purity. And as we go towards the Agya and Sahasrara chakra, it is becoming our spiritual energy. So Agya chakra and Sahasrara chakra is having Sattva guna, only good things associated with that. Now let us talk about what are the Chitta Antarayas. Chitta Antarayas or Chitta Vikshepas. What are there are 9 different Chitta Vikshepas have been explained by the Rishi Patanjali. One is a Vyadhi, disease. When a person is having disease, say for example, he is having a back pain, he cannot sit properly. He is having other issues, he is a severely diabetic. So this because of this particular thing, what happens is that his yoga sadhana can be affected. Imbalance of vata, kapha and pitta in the body will not allow you to continue yoga sadhana for the longer duration. Sthayan, languor, non-believer in karma, akarma. Sanshaya, another thing, whether really yoga practice what I am doing is really effective, whether it is really helping. This kind of doubts are being created by the mind. This is a stumbling block. What happens after some time, we are going to leave this yoga sadhana because we get doubt. We don't rely on what has been told in all ancient yoga books, but what we do is that we understand that we are getting doubt that might be right, and this actually becomes a stumbling block in our yoga sadhana. Pramada, carelessness, deliberate mistakes, misplaced priorities. Today I have work, I will not do yoga today. I have too much work, I have to go to office early and all these things basically. So sometime, I'm just giving example. So sometime this is a misplaced priorities. We don't understand the priorities. Main important thing, the body is going to remain forever with us. So our priority should be definitely body first in comparison to all other things. But sometimes what happens is that we neglect it. Alasya, laziness, avirati, attachment to material needs. This will not allow our mind to get settled because we have always mental pain, agony while performing the yoga sadhana. Another one is a bhranti, hallucinations. Hallucinations means we feel that whatever, as we discussed, whatever we have seen or what we are, our mind is creating a picture is the right thing. But actually, reality is entirely different. Now, alabdha bhumikatva, last two is alabdha bhumikatva, which is that non-achievement of a stage. We are not achieving, say, for example, we are at the stage of dharana. We are unable to move to the next stage of it. That's bring disappointment and our yoga sadhana gets stopped. Last one is anavistha tattva. This is basically starting and stopping of the yoga practice. We are starting, then we are stopping. We are starting and then we are stopping. This instability. So these are the 9 chitta vikshepas or antarayas have been explained by Rishi Patanjali. And he's told that, there are the 4 type of accompaniments with that. Means with this all, because of these all 9 chitta vikshepas, we will have a dukkha, unhappiness. Dor manasya, which is the despair or a bad state of mind. Sometimes tremors in our body. And this leads to erratic breathing, swash and prashwas. So now what Rishi Patanjali has told is that what are the solutions? The solution is he has given in a 2 particular ways. One is a chitta prasadanam. Another one is a pranav meditation. We are going to talk about this in slight deeper. Pranav meditation means it's a ekatattva abhyasa, single point concentration. Om chanting. Focus on your guru, focus on your God, one God. Focus on one thing is, or focus with one hymn like Gayatri Mantra is called Pranav meditation. So let us talk about them, or let us talk about Chitta Prasadana first. Now, Chitta Prasadana is a solution presented by Patanjali, and what it means is that each and every type of person can be corrected. How? By the yoga practice. Whether he is a happy person, unhappy person, he is a virtuous or wicked kind of person, still each and every person can be corrected because we all have Ishwar in all of us. So what he tells by Chitta Prasadana is a be friend of God, be friend of good things. No to negativity. Here comes the first thing is the yam. The first thing of yam is a ahimsa. Only think positive. No negative thinking about anybody. We are only because the person whom we are whom about we are thinking negative is also a creation of God, and how God's creation can be wrong. So basically, with this thinking, he is strongly recommending no to negativity, only positive thinking. Now, what happens basically, let's see what is the Chitta Prasadana. We understand it. Say, for example, if we say about one person is very happy. So what we should do? We should celebrate and enjoy with him. But what generally people do is that we become jealous. We use unkind words. We develop hostile attitude towards him. So then how our chitta can be happy? Chitta cannot be happy. Chitta will always have the first three type of chittas, which we explained: kshipta, distracted, and those kind of chittas we are going to have. We are not going to have good kind of, or I would say prasanna chitta. Second one is when someone is in pain or suffering, right thing is to do, have a compassion and help people in distress, make the distress disappear. But what we do, we overlook his pain and we go in on our way. But that's not the right thing to do. Promoting rightness. When you meet the people who are truthful, virtuous, try and imbibe the things that make him or her virtuous. Why he is virtuous? Let us have those things in us, and happiness and calmness will pour into our life. But what we do, we ridicule the righteous person. We discount his truthfulness and virtues. This is what we do. And the last thing he said, having positive attitude towards bad. We should guide these people or bad people towards goodness. We should have a strong faith in it. This is the only way we can remove the bad things. This is what very nicely explained in Ashtanga Yoga by Rishi Patanjali. And what is happening is that most of the people in today's world are doing wicked things to keep the power, money, relationships. And what happens is that we hate those people. So there is no feeling of any kind of hatredness, any kind of ill feeling about others. This is what is a chitta prasadana. Gradually, chitta will become clear. The muddy water in the lake will become clear. Then we talk about vrittis. And very nicely explained, vritti is the pranav meditation. So what is telling mean by pranav means cosmic sound. Rishi Patanjali has told in one of the sutra, which is Sutra 1.2432, he has told very clearly that, this Om Mantra meditation. Om Mantra meditation is enough technique, or a single technique can lead to the state of meditative state, or the state of samadhi. So what he has told is that if you read the third bullet is that all antarayas, what we discussed, disease, languor, doubt, carelessness, laziness, worldly mindedness, delusions, non-achievement of a stage, instability, all these things which are obstacles in our yoga sadhana will go away with the japa, om chanting. And he has in a Kriya Yoga, which Rishi Patanjali has told in a Niyama. In Niyam, we know that there are 5 elements of Niyam and 3 elements. One is a tapas, swadhyaya, and Ishwar Pranidhana. Ishwar Pranidhan, surrendering to God. Now, Pranav Om meditation, he has also recommended as a part of Kriya Yoga teaching. When we perform chanting of sound Om, this meditation with the inhalation and exhalation is basically the Om chanting or Om meditation basically. So this is the Pranav meditation and Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga means in short Tapas, Swadhyaya and Ishwar Pranidhan. Surrendering to God is Kriya Yoga. What is going to happen if we practice these things, the 2 elements, Vairagya and the Abhyasa? He has mentioned very nicely is that what we are going to, with the constant practice, with the constant Abhyasa, we are going to develop the feeling of vairagya, detachment. And when detachment comes, automatically the chitta and vrittis calms down and our mind becomes calm. Gradually, we become free of miseries. And once our chitta and vrittis are calm, then only our inward journey or looking at the inner self is possible. When there are no fluctuations in a water of lake or on the surface, when the water is very clear, then only we will be able to see the bottom. So abhyasa and vairagya are the two main elements of spirituality, like two wings of bird. That's what he has said. Just to summarize very quickly, yoga, the main sutra, which is a very, very popular sutra, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha. 5 types of chitta we have seen: Kshipta, Mudam, Vikshiptam, Ekagram, Niruddham. 5 type of vrittis we do have: Pramana, Vipraya, Vikalpa, Nidra, Smriti. Kaleshas, Avidya, which is ignorance, Asmita, ego, Rag, attachment, Dvesh, repulsion, Abhinivesha, fear of death. And 9 antarayas. And the 2 solutions we have seen today is a Chitta Prasadana and a Pranav Jap, which continuous abhyasa and vairagya will help us to get or calm down our chitta and vrittis. So this is what is the I have for today.
That's quite great to hear, sir. And of course, you made the concept quite easy by explaining us through examples. So thank you so much for that. Any questions anyone has, then you can please put on.
Or maybe you can type your question in a chat box if anybody has questions.
By the time
Will
somebody,
we get?
yeah, okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, yeah, I just basically wanted if we could have this this presentation, because it would be nice to go through it once and just reflect also, you know, though it was made very easy, but it would be nice to also, you know, read, understand it once again.
True, very correct, because it is just right now it's a knowledge sharing session, but you know, as you do manan over it, or I would say rumination over these things,
Right.
many things will be clear, because what we have touched is basically is a tip of iceberg. Actually the iceberg is below it.
Right, that's true. I think once we all go through the presentation made by you, then we would be in a better position to ask.
Correct. Only thing
Uh,
what I request everyone is the 2 to 3 things which is now in all the centers, all the teachers are also telling. I just want to repeat one thing. Please do not skip pranayamas, and if possible, please do meditation every day, because meditation is a food for mind. That's what I wanted to convey. Or chitta and vrittis can only and only calm down with the concentration, and concentration means meditation. So very important aspect. And Rishi Patanjali has explained pranayama also. He told he did not talk about any asana in Ashtanga Yoga. Asana got developed in a Hatha Yoga, which is later it came from the Tantra Yoga. So he did not
We have one
explain.
question. Sorry to comment. We have one question from
Yeah.
one member in
Yeah,
the chat.
okay.
Usha Suresh.
So he asks a question. Can you explain once again about antaraya, sir?
Yeah, I will explain. So antarayas basically, let me share this screen also. Antarayas, basically there are 9 antarayas. Antarayas means the vikshepas. Antaraya means a stumbling block. And stumbling block into our yoga sadhana is first is a vyadhi. Vyadhi we are going to discuss in the next session also, little bit in a detail, but vyadhi is a disease. Now disease starts from where? So for that, in a yogic terminology, if we have to understand, we have to understand the pancha koshas, and that we are going to discuss in the next session also, that how Adi generates vyadhi, basically the physical diseases. It starts from the mind. It starts from the manonmay kosh, and then how it affects basically the annamay kosh, which is the vyadhi. So vyadhi is a disease. Disease is a kind of a stumbling block. Now disease can be any kind of disease. Say you might have, for example, a back pain. It's very classical case, a back pain. Now back pain, a person cannot sit for 15 to 20 minutes in a meditation, state of meditation, or a state of, or cannot do pranayama because he is having back pain. His mind, even if he sits, his mind will always be at pain, not at basically the breathe, or not at basically the focus of our or the focus where it should be. So vyadhi is one of the disease, or first one disease is called, which is called vyadhi, is one of the antaraya. Second one is a styan, languor, means akarma. Someone doesn't want to do any kind of karma, which is again a stumbling block. Sanshaya, doubt. We have a lot of doubt about yoga. Yoga is really workable, is working with me. I don't think so it is working with me. Yes, it is working, but sometimes some asanas are working nicely, some asanas are not working nicely. These kind of things, whether really meditation helps. Oh, meditation, I am not for meditation. My mind always roams here and there. These kind of feelings come, but we don't understand that this is a part of our journey. Our mind is roaming, let it roam. Be witness of it. Whatever is happening, experience it. Okay, so this is Sanchaya. We have a lot of doubts in our mind, whether this asana is good for me, bad for me. Fourth one is a pramada. Pramada means misplaced priorities or deliberate mistakes we are doing. We are considering, say, for example, today, oh, even though you have time, you just decide today, no, I will not do asanas. I will go for jogging. I will not do meditation today. I will not do any kind of concentration. I'll just pick another activity. This is a misplaced priority. This is called, he has called carelessness or a pramada, deliberate mistakes. Alasya, laziness, everybody understands. We are very lazy. Even though we have time, even though we have energy, we don't want to do because of our inertia, sheer inertia, laziness. Avirati. Avirati means constantly our mind is running after material needs. Oh, I want that. I want to achieve this. I want to achieve that. How a mind, so from mind, from once one objective is achieved, another objective, third objective, and even though second and third is not achieved, there is only a big list of objectives I do have. I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. So constant attachment to the material needs, which is called avirati. Then hallucinations. Hallucinations is one very good example. I would say that sometime you feel very good and you feel that, oh, I was meditating, but actually you might not be meditating. That kind of image has been created. A goody picture is created by our mind that, oh, I have achieved this particular state, but actually we have not achieved. This is called Bhranti, which is hallucination. Last two state is also very important, Alabdha Bhumikatva. We are stuck at one particular stage. We are not progressing from there. And then our interest, we lose the interest. Okay, this is the steady state condition I have achieved. I cannot progress. So we stop attempting the next level. This is called Alabdha Bhumikatva. And the next one is, we are starting, oh, I am feeling very good. Winter season, I am going to do pranayama meditation. It's summer is very hot. I will not do that. I will stop it. Starting, stopping is called anavasthitva. So these are the 9 chitta vikshepas or stumbling block in our yoga sadhanas. Okay.
Hi, Ankur, Balraj here. Very nicely explained. Normally, you know what I have seen actually, but I don't know how many people will relate with me. Whatever this you explain is all good. Like while listening, also it looks good. Okay, now I have to change my, priority from tomorrow onwards. I should start yoga, or like, or there are members who are doing yoga, means not 7 days of, in a week, maybe a few days. Some are priority is little less, like giving half an hour. So after understanding all this, if a person, अरे यार, you know, in Hindi we say, अरे यार ये तो बोलते ही ऐसे, ऐसा बोलते ही है, and then they go back to their daily routine. So what in your all this materials, what you can say about those people? Can you please tell something? You got my
Yes,
question, right?
yes, I
Yeah,
got your
because you
question.
know I understood what you're saying. Everything is okay, but it is just good for listening, not for action.
Yes, so that's what
Please.
I'm saying. So very simple, as Rishi Patanjali has told, yoga ha chitta vritti nirodha. Okay, first two sutras, there is an answer there. The first slide is having answer. See, very simple. Say if you have, which is another topic I will touch upon later on, which is the mumukshatva. Mumukshatva means how much keen desire you have to get rid of your chitta and vrittis, basically, or calm down your chitta and vrittis. It depends on that. Now, what he told very simply, I got your point. He's telling yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Till the time you are doing yoga, your chitta and vrittis, modifications or fluctuations in your mind will not be there. You will be able to travel introvert, or you will be able to become introvert. Remaining all the time, you will not be able to. So it is up to individual. It is up to individual that how much keenness, how much desire he has to really go into the detail and understand, or take a I would say plunge into the science of spirituality. Okay, so that's why, yes, we do have priorities, but the main thing is that very clearly he has told is that till the time you do the meditation, till the time you do the pranayama and meditation, basically you will be working on your chitta and vrittis. But if you are not doing yogas, that means there will always be there. The next sutra 4, he tells the same thing. So whenever you are doing yoga, this your chitta vrittis will be, you will be able to pacify them. But as you stop yoga, it will not be, it will always be present. So till you practice, every day you practice, we are going to get rid of, or we are going to feel the calmness. And if you really want to feel the calmness, the happiness from the inside, then we have to practice the pranayama and meditation.
Okay, so can we say like this, like from today onwards, if somebody have get this what call feeling like, okay, let's skip the yoga today, or let's go for walking or jogging, or let's do some other activities other than yoga, so they can contact you and you can explain them personally.
I can,
Please.
yes, definitely. Why not? Because what happens is that, just another thing I want to add here is that, since people are here, whenever, what we are doing is that whenever in a pranayama or meditation, first we close all our sensory organs. We close our eyes also. So what happens is that our mind is within ourselves. The pratyahara, the feeling of pratyahara, basically pratyahara is basically the detachment or from all our senses. This is automatically gets developed, and pratyahara is a bridge between basically asana pranayama and dharana dhyan samadhi. Without pratyahara, towards one point concentration is not possible. So that's the reason that sometime we tell also people to close their eye in a particular asana and feel it. What happening is here is that we are working on our senses. We are closing all sensory inputs, and we are focusing on our, I would say, internally rather than externally. Okay, so yes, you are very right that, if someone is feeling that 2 days I will do yoga or 3 days I will do yoga, then he has to be explained this particular thing what Rishi Patanjali has told. Till the time you do yoga, your chitta and vrittis will be pacified, or you are working on it. But when you are not doing yoga, you are not going to work on it. There are two more sutras he told. Dirghkal means this all yoga practice has to be continued every day and till a longer duration. Mean it's not like that, 1 year, 2 year we do and then again interrupt. So that is the thing basically.
Very nice, very nice. I think somebody was asking one question when I was started, so you can come up again.
Yeah, I had a question. Basically, what happens is when I do meditation, then some people are there around me who just give me a stuff key. What is meditation? It is just about closing your eyes and imagining something. Means take the meditation. What it does is it takes you into some different world altogether. So why to do this kind of stuff? So when the person asked me this, I didn't have any specific answer to give him at that time.
Yes,
But would you please
because
throw a light on this?
I will throw light on it. See, it is a very, very normal thing that if someone has not practiced pranayama or meditation initially, the fluctuations of mind will be very, very high. You will be feeling boring. You will not be able to sit at one place. Okay. It takes probably 2 to 3 years to come to the one particular, or it depends on your keenness as well, that you know how quickly you will be able to pacify your chitta and breathes. See, when someone asks you, basically today we have answered that particular thing with the ek tattva abhyasa. Ek tattva abhyasa is what? Single point concentration. Our intent here, what Rishi Patanjali has told, I have covered over here, is a pranav meditation and ek tattva abhyasa. Single point concentration. Okay, either you are focusing on your breath, either you are focusing at your agya chakra or at any chakra out of the 7 chakra, or you are focusing only and only om chanting. How you are focusing om chanting? Okay, any mantra. Say for example, you are focusing on a Gayatri mantra, or you are praying to your God. Okay, that single point concentration, it doesn't tell that which God to do or which God not to do. It is just telling your God, your wish. You focus at one place. Your teacher, maybe it can be your spiritual teacher as well. So this is ek tattva abhyasa. We need to do ek tattva abhyasa, single point concentration first. This is the first stage called dharana. And from here, this meditation starts basically. Clear?
Yeah. It's clear.
The other example, I can give a short example. You know, any music player, when you want to play it, very easily you cannot play. You need a lot of practice into that. And for each and every different rhythms, different song, you have to practice the same thing. You have to. It's nothing like very easy. A person who do meditation means control of mind. For them to follow that rhythm, it's like one go or two go. And the one who doesn't follow meditation, for him it is like ever going. Ever going means ever trying, keep on trying, but he will never success. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. What happens is that initially, as I explained, this is a whirlpool of thoughts will come. Initially, a lot of thoughts will come our mind, but we need not to be judgmental. We need not to be disheartened by that experience. You should never ever pass a judgment on yourself, because we as this is our nature, that we'd always become judgmental rather than being a witness of it. So try to be witness whenever these thoughts come. Tell him that, try to be witness of it. Just experiences. There is nothing right, there is nothing wrong. This is the process which we are going to follow to train our mind to calm down. Okay, so this is what I have to share with you guys. Yeah.
So I think we are up over time now. So
Yeah,
It's 9:13 p.m.
So anyone, any questions? Any questions, or we can close? 1, 2, 3. Sorry, we'll close. Soumya, up toward you.
Yeah, so actually it was quite knowledgeable session, and yes, we got to learn a lot of new things from both of you, both Sakina and of course Ankur sir also. And the way you presented by examples, that was pretty awesome. This helped us to understand the concept in a much easier manner. Even with Sakina, the way she explained the bhavas in a step-by-step manner, that definitely helped us. And the way she linked it to the yoga asana, that was also pretty nice. So thank you both of you for your time in creating the presentation, so wonderful presentation, and for presenting us, and of course, imbibing us with a lot of knowledge regarding this.
Thank you very much. And let us close today's session with the Om chanting, please.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. See
Thank
tomorrow on the
you.
yoga ground.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.